That's 800-433-8909 or simply visit godra.com.
More honesty than you can handle.
More empowerment than you can imagine.
You're tuned in to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Cornel West. A little bit of Smiley and West for you. Enough about our weekend with these legends, Smokey and Betty Saar and Dolores Huerta. Now to some issues here. I want to start, as I mentioned earlier, Doc, with the Voting Rights Act. About to turn 60. And my view is two things. One, that as we are about to have all these commemorations and one could say memorial. It may not be a commemoration, it may be a memorial, given that the Voting Rights Act, as we know it, is on life support. It has never been more fragile, to my mind, than it is right now in the era of Trump, which opens the door, I think, to a larger conversation we can have here in just a moment, I hope, about black political power hanging on these days by a thread. But first, your thoughts about what it means to be at this point where 60 years later we are commemorating or again, maybe even memorializing, depending on what the next few years look like, the Voting Rights Act as we know it, Doc.
I mean, part of it is, brother, I was just thinking about how loving and patient you are when it comes to folk who help facilitate some very ugly attacks on yourself and ugly attacks on myself. When I think back of Melissa Harris Perry for the Nation, Tavis, who made Tavis king.
Yeah.
You see, that was Katrina and them. And I love Katrina too, but she facilitated that. We can go on to Joan Walsh and so forth. The nation itself, at its worst, now at its best is wonderful, but at its worst, it's a democratic operative institution that facilitates various attacks on people trying to stand up for issues of mass incarceration and black power and poverty and so forth. And one of the ways in which it has been able to do that has been bringing in folk to go at what you've been standing for, what I've tried to stand for. Think of the attack of Joan Walsh on what I was trying to do just a year and a half ago. Now, we've been at this for 20-something years. I don't mind a critique, but not a vicious attack.
Yeah.
You say, well, Dave, what's going on here? One of the reasons why we don't have a voting rights bill is what? Because you had Democrats who had the House, Democrats had the Senate, and they still couldn't push the bill through. How come? It was not a priority, brother. How could it not be a priority when black women put Biden in? Well, once he got in, he turned his back on black people. Yeah. He turned his back on black women when it came to the John Lewis voting rights bill, and there was a whole host of other things as well. So it just lets folks know. You say, well, wait a minute now. Even these neoliberals, they're the ones who help facilitate these indifferences toward black people, let alone help facilitate the genocide itself. Even Katrina and others supported Biden, right? Well, Biden was a genocide facilitator to the core. To the core. And so we love them and we treat them like human beings, but at the same time, the truth is bigger than all of us. Yep. And when it comes to the suffering of black people and poor people, we are uncompromising, you know?
Yeah. You said a couple of things I want to give you a chance to unpack. Let me start where you started. Earlier in this program today, the audience heard me, even as I talked about the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, CPB, announcing that it's shutting down, given that Donald Trump essentially itemmed it out of the budget to the tune of over $1 billion. And CPB is what supports PBS and NPR and stations all across the country. I take no joy in that. At the same time, I have always had, I think, a full-throated critique, as did my friend Bill Moyers, of PBS and NPR not living up to their mandate when they were founded, particularly as it relates to providing opportunities for people of color. Again, PBS did a great job on children's programming, but they have never measured up. Neither has NPR. And I can say this because, as this audience I think knows, I was the first African-American, first person of color, believe it or not, in the history of NPR to have his own daily show, and the first person of color in the history of PBS to have his own nightly show. And I ain't that old, y'all. It just goes to show you how long these institutions ran without giving a person of color an opportunity to host his or her own show on a daily basis. So I hate to see what PBS and NPR are going to be going through now. The CPB is about to fold, and yet I can say that and still offer a critique. So, the nation, you're right. At its best, it's done some great work. But here you come, which I receive and I accept your critique of the nation and the way, it showed up in ways that were vicious and ugly, things they've written about you, things they've allowed their writers to say about me. That's as real as rain. So I ain't even mad about you raising it. I love it that you brought it to the fore, because it allows me to ask this question: what it is that we say in a moment like this about what it means sometimes to have to fight with your friends, Doc.
Ooh, well, that's a crucial question, though, brother. That's a crucial question. I think there's two things you always have to focus on.
Right.
Which is your calling as it relates to telling the truth and serving the least of these, poor people and working people. And for us, we always begin on the chocolate side of town.
Yep.
Everybody else can ignore Jamal and Letitia. We love them. We going down with them. We go down swinging with them. But at the same time, we also connected to the least of these in Gaza, the least of these in Sudan, the least of these in Haiti, the least of these in Guatemala, because it's a global thing. We don't get caught with the flag. If you're going to be an operator for the Democratic Party, there's a good chance that you're going to be waving the flag rather than bearing a cross. And we are cross bearers, brother. We cross bearers. That's the first thing. We ain't got nothing against the flag when it's in conformity with the cross, but when the flag is getting in the way of the cross brings down major condemnation and indictment of the idolatry of any form of nationalism, patriotism, flag waving that's hiding and concealing the suffering of our precious people.
In a moment like this, I'm going to extend that question one more again here. Since Katrina mentioned Mondami in the first hour, and we're about to talk to Mayor Eric Adams here on the backside of this hour, it seems here again that, and this is not the first time or the last time, that we'll see establishment Democrats turn on progressive candidates. Again, they did that to you. They're doing it to Mondami. The New York Times has opted out of even endorsing in this race, so they've been sort of cowardly in this moment, as was the Washington Post, as was the LA Times, et cetera, et cetera. But my question is, talk to me about how how you see, at least. Let me phrase it this way. How do you see the left in this moment? I mean, I'm talking about the left broadly. I'm talking about Democrats. I'm talking about progressives. What's your read of the, I don't want to use the word infighting, but what's your read of how we are going along and or not getting along in this moment, if that makes sense? That's a question.
Well, I think we have to draw a distinction between a genuine solidarity that puts the needs and suffering of poor people at the center versus superficial coalition,
yes,
which is nothing but a moment of manipulation of elites, often in the Democratic Party when it comes to the left, to use us as window dressing. And once they get into power, they forget about us. So the message of Mamdani is, if you just going to be another AOC, if you just going to be another progressive in the Democratic Party that facilitates the worst of your party, then you got to check yourself. Now, I'm very much open, and I've already been very supportive and so forth. But if all we're seeing is just another recycling of these folks who claim to be so progressive, and as soon as they get in office, they become window dressing for the same corporate Democratic Party, I say, wait a minute. And that's why Sister Katrina and others get so excited, because they have very little hope in a decrepit party that's rudderless and leaderless and spineless. And so when they see him, Mamdani, he's a serious brother. I like the brother. I've never met him at all. We've had no conversation. But his trajectory could be very similar to other folk who begin so progressive and get on the inside of the party, and lo and behold, begin to adjust themselves and adapt themselves because of the way politics operates, and you end up turning your back on the very poor and working people that you started with. Now, he has not done that yet. I'm not saying that he will. I'm praying that he won't. But there's a chance that he will.
Well, yeah.
Why? We say that explicitly.
Yeah, he hasn't done that yet, but let's be clear. What he has done is start to moderate certain positions. And to your point, that is the frame that he's in. And so my question is, what say you to those persons who start out pushing a robust progressive agenda, but by nature of what it means to get elected, once they get past that get over that first hurdle, like Mondami did in the Democratic primary, if you expect to get elected, then people start telling you have to moderate your positions, Doc.
No, it just means that the system itself is rotten, man.
Yeah.
There's a corruption at the core of the system. And if the best we can do is to have folk move into the system to get compromised and to get deodorized and to get manicured rather than keep the funk real, then it means the system itself needs to be radically called into question. And that's exactly what so many of us, or some of us, have been trying to do over the years, brother.
Yep. Let me circle back to the Voting Rights Act. As I mentioned earlier, it turns 60 in a couple of days, and some will be commemorating and celebrating that. Others, like yours truly, going to be praying that we've not seen we have not seen the best days, the final days of the Voting Rights Act as we know it. It is, of course, a piece of seminal legislation that changed this country as we know it. But as I said earlier, it raises the question about whether black political power in this moment is hanging by a thread. And to that, you say what?
It is. We got to do all that we can to make sure we expand black political power, people's power. But we always got to keep in mind, brother, something that grandmama would have said to us right after church, which is after 244 years of barbaric slavery and another 100 years of barbaric neo-slavery, if black people could vote ourselves into being free, the system would make voting illegal.
Yeah.
So we use the vote as one weapon, but you can't put all your marbles in that basket. No.
Yeah. What is the challenge? Since we're talking about Democrats, at least we were a moment ago. What is the challenge right now to the Democratic Party to honor and authenticate the Voting Rights Act as we know it for months and years to come?
But I think in so many ways it has to do with the power of our strong, precious black sisters, man, because black women are really at the center of the Democratic Party. Wherever they go and what they do, the Democratic Party must go and must do, because that's the fundamental pillar. That's the fundamental pillar. And when we have more and more sisters who are raising their voices in such a way, bringing powerful critique to bear, I was blessed, of course, to have that wonderful show with Sister Nina Turner.
Yeah.
And you got Sister Mary Sheffield, who's running in Detroit, and she was very strong with Bernie and others. And you got a number of black sisters who are still inside the party, still working. Now, you know, I believe the party's beyond redemption, but I love the folk who's still trying to work on the inside.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand that. But just don't confuse the party with a plantation versus a site of struggle to overcome the limits of a plantation. Those are two different things.
Yep. This is a conversation you likely won't hear anywhere else, but we're going to have it right now for the next 3 minutes at least, or at least a couple minutes. It seems to me that, and I like Joe Biden. I mean, he ain't never done it to me personally, but I have my critique of Joe Biden, just as you had a strong critique of Joe Biden as well. And I think that critique needs to be brought to the fore in a moment like this, because as we move toward this commemoration, this celebration, whatever your word is, of the 60th anniversary of the Voting Rights Act, Joe Biden had an opportunity, Democrats had an opportunity to strengthen the Voting Rights Act as we know it. They did not do that in the Biden era, and what got in the way was the filibuster. That debate continues to rage about what ought to happen to the filibuster, but Democrats missed a moment. They missed an opportunity. It didn't help that Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema kept standing in the way, but there was a way around that. Joe Biden just chose not to go around that and to carve out a plan and a way to strengthen the Voting Rights Act. And I think in the days ahead, certainly in progressive circles, there's going to be a critique of Joe Biden and what Democrats writ large did not do to strengthen this measure when they had the opportunity, Doc. They just chose not to do it.
Brother, you hit the nail on the head. And then the question becomes, well, why is it that when you're fighting for building America, which is very important, we need infrastructure, you do anything. When it comes to voting rights, you do some things, but you're not going to go all the way. That means black people didn't count or matter enough. That's what that meant, you see. And the black leaders who facilitated that ought to be shame on themselves. They still on the plantation taking orders from the overlord. Shame on them.
Yeah. No, it's I think every president has to look back on his term or terms, in Joe Biden's case, term, and assess what they could have done better, what they did right, what they did wrong. I've had any number of conversations with presidents once they left the White House, from Jimmy Carter to Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton, where here now, would tell you he made a mistake on the crime bill. He made a horrible mistake on Rwanda. So when they get out of there, if they're being honest with themselves, they look back on the things that they could have done better, things that they flat out failed on. And I suspect that Joe Biden, I hope at least, in the years to come, he'll rethink what they could have done and might have done and frankly should have done to strengthen the Voting Rights Act as we know it. They did not do that. They allowed the filibuster to become the excuse. I digress on that for now. My time is up. But the good news is that Cornel West, Dr. West, is always here on Mondays and Thursdays at the top of the second hour, and always delighted to be in dialogue with him. What a great time this weekend, Doc. What a great conversation today. As always, my friend, love you, appreciate you.
Yes, indeed. Love you, my brother. Stay strong, stay steadfast.
Talk to you soon. More of our conversation. Well, no, actually not true. More of this conversation continues, but let me rephrase that. More of this show continues. That's what I was trying to say. A different conversation, in fact, a conversation with the mayor of New York City, Eric Adams, when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
What's your quarrel with the world? You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Whooping cough cases are rising as kids head back to school. Dr. Dave Weber of the University of North Carolina Medical Center says parents should vaccinate a few weeks before school starts.
My hospital, we had no cases in 2023, 13 in 2024, and already this year we've had 27.
CDC data shows a six-fold increase in 2024, with many children missing key vaccines. St. Louis is ending its minority and women-owned business goals for construction contracts. Mayor Kara Spencer says new federal rules ban promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion. And Lawrence Taylor says he doesn't know why he was picked for President Trump's Youth Fitness Council. The ex-NFL star, a registered sex offender, joined the White House event, sparking backlash over his past and President Trump's decision to include him. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice: continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at unbound.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
It was a good day Sunday for both of LA's baseball teams. The Dodgers closed out a 9-game road trip with a 3-0 win at Tampa Bay. The Dodgers had played 18 consecutive innings without scoring. They're back at home tonight against St. Louis. Angels left fielder Taylor Ward hit a game-winning 3-run homer in the bottom of the ninth to give the Angels a dramatic 8-5 win over the Chicago White Sox. The Angels are at home tonight against Tampa Bay. After winning 7 of their last 10 games, the LA Sparks are only 2.5 games out of the 8th and final playoff spot in the WNBA. The 12 and 15 Sparks have 17 games left on the schedule. They haven't made the playoffs since 2020. The Sparks are at home Tuesday night against the Indiana Fever. An LA County judge has ordered former Lakers forward Lamar Odom to vacate a home he's been renting in Studio City. Odom owes $45,000 in unpaid rent. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Popsicles, sprinklers, a cool breeze. Talk about refreshing. You know what else is refreshing this summer? A brand new phone with Verizon. Yep, get a new phone on any plan with Select Phone Trade-in and My Plan. And lock down a low price for 3 years on any plan with My Plan. This is a deal for everyone, whether you're a new or existing customer. Swing by Verizon today for our best phone deals. 3-year price guarantee applies to then current base monthly rate only. Additional terms and conditions apply for all offers.
We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know? The United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time. Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
Your child is 18, and suddenly you no longer have legal access to their medical info, even in an emergency. No health decisions, no financial help, nothing, unless you plan ahead. That's why Trust and Will created the Young Adult Plan. It includes HIPAA authorization, healthcare directives, and power of attorney. Everything your child needs to stay protected and stay connected. Go to trustandwill.com and get your Young Adult Plan for just $69. Because turning 18 shouldn't mean cutting parents out of the picture. Trust and Will is an online estate planning service. See website for details.
Trust and Will.
Some things can steal your sunshine. Ugh, I just got my hair done.
Sorry, the cooler's broken. Anyone see my flip-flops? Anyone?
But COVID-19 can steal a lot more.
I just took a COVID test. Ugh.
Prescription medications for COVID exist. If you test positive this summer, ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit PfizerForAll.com/COVID-19 to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Helping to make you the most knowledgeable person in your circle of friends. This is Tavis Smiley.
A conversation now with the mayor of Gotham, Eric Adams, who I'm honored to have on this program. Mayor Adams, how are you, sir? Mayor, can you hear me? Is your mute button on? I cannot hear the mayor.
I want to be good to hear from you, Tavis.
There you go, Mayor. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
How are you, my friend?
Good. I hope you're well. I hope you're having a great summer.
I'm having a great summer, and if I complained about anything, I'd be an ingrate, man. I'm doing well, and good to be in dialogue with you. Let me make the most of our time. I want to start with this. As you know, I had the honor early in my career of working for the late great mayor of this city, the first African American, Tom Bradley, and so I know all too well that so much of being mayor is navigating crises that you did not see coming, particularly when you're the mayor of New York City. What can you say in retrospect now about this this horrific shooting days ago in Midtown?
And you're so right. Oftentimes you start your day where you don't realize what the day is going to look like, and you have to adjust as you move forward. And I think that that's the life of a mayor. And it really breaks my heart that we lost 4 innocent New Yorkers who were basically carrying out their lives of what they do in this city. This gunman drove across the country with an automatic weapon with only one intention, and that was to bring death and destruction. The first person he encountered, who happened to have been a police officer, he shot and killed, and he just continued his rampage as he moved throughout the building. So it breaks our heart. We're going to investigate this thoroughly to find out if there were any co-conspirators or if anyone had any knowledge of this horrific shooting. And as you know, we lost not only our civilians, but we also lost a police officer Islam, a Bangladeshi immigrant who came here to serve our city.
Yeah. I mean, New York is New York. It's, an iconic city, of course, in the world. And there's not a whole lot, I guess, one can do to stop this, but it must rankle you. It must really unnerve you that people keep choosing New York as the site to which they come to make these sort of horrific statements. This gentleman, as you mentioned, came to New York. I'm thinking of the guy that went to New York to kill the CEO of United Healthcare. This is happening too much in New York City, Mayor.
Yeah, and so true, and that's a great observation on your part. New York City is the media capital of the country, if not the globe. And when people want to make statements, including flying planes into buildings or doing something extremely horrific because they believe they would get the attention because it's in New York. And what we must do, we must balance that. We must balance that with a good law enforcement apparatus. We, in our city, we don't control federal gun laws, but we do control those who carry illegal guns here. We removed close to 23,000 illegal guns off our streets, 3,100 just this year alone. And we have witnessed in the last 7 months the lowest numbers of shootings and shootings victims in the recorded history of the city. So clearly, you're seeing a law enforcement apparatus that is doing its job. And, you know, we would love to be able to stop people to carry guns into our city. But unfortunately, we have very lax national gun laws. In some states, the laws are even more lax, and it hurts cities like New York, Chicago, and others. We don't manufacture guns here, but we have to deal with those that are manufactured.
Yeah. Obviously, as mayor running for re-election, we'll get to that a little bit later here, but let me just do a little bit of it now. Your record is under attack, under assault. It's being dissected by the media, by those who are running against you as you seek re-election, and your policing record is front and center. And again, we're following this race every day around the country. Many of us who are fascinated by this race in New York City. For those who are critiquing your record on policing, what's your position on what you think you've been able to accomplish?
Well, you know, we should be clear here. We have now 4 candidates in the race, 5 actually. 3 of them don't have a record at all. One of them, he is running from his record because his contributions to making our city unsafe. And I'm the only candidate that has a record. And the reason people can critique me is because I have a record. But when you do an analysis of the record of, you know, not only looking at developing and putting in place more affordable housing in individual years, year 1, year 2, and year 3 in the recorded history of the city, putting $30 billion back into the pockets of working class people, everything from paying off medical debt to no income tax for low income New Yorkers at all. What we have done around paying for college tuition for foster care children, more jobs in our city, in our city's history, decrease in unemployment all over the city, but particularly for Black and brown New Yorkers. So that record is good. But if you want to examine just law enforcement alone, I ran on public safety. And as I mentioned, June and July are normally dangerous months for crimes in cities. We have the lowest numbers of shootings and homicides in the first 6 months of the year, and the lowest number of shootings and shooting victims in the 7 months of the year. Our subway system is the safest it has ever been, taking away the 2 pandemic years when no one was on the train. When you look at major crime categories, decrease, hate crimes have decreased in the city for the most part. And so public safety is a prerequisite to prosperity, and we can't go backwards by making ill-advised decisions around how to keep New Yorkers safe.
Yep. There's a paradox here, because you are right about the fact that serious crime is declining in New York on your watch as mayor, and to the victor goes the spoils. So you're the mayor, so if the crime is down, then you get the credit for that. But yet I keep reading that while crime is down, serious crime is down, so many New Yorkers don't feel safer. To those New Yorkers, you say what?
And I'm glad you said that, because I just answered that question today.
Right.
One of the reporters at a press conference said, well, New Yorkers, they don't feel safe. And I said, well, let's ask the question, where are New Yorkers getting their opinions on how well the city is doing? 8.5 million New Yorkers. And when you start your day, what do? You pick up your newspapers. You read to see and gauge how well the city is doing. So if we focus on the worst thing that could happen in a city of 8.5 million people, the largest city in America, then it's going to have the tendency to make people feel unsafe. I keep saying to them, as you write a horrific incident that happens in our city, how about putting in the city that we're in one sentence that we are the safest big city in America? When you look at what happened in Chicago over 4th of July, and I'm not trying to say anything negative about the city, but the fact is we had one shooting on 4th of July. The number of shootings these other cities, big cities, had were extremely high. Through the weekend, they had over 50 shootings. Mm-hmm. And so we know the work we're doing here, but I think it's imperative that the local tabloids must play a role in how people feel about their city. Yeah. We know we have to do more. One crime is the crime too much. But when you look at this city and what we have accomplished, like I said, these are record-breaking decreases in crimes. But I have 4.6 million people that use my subway system every day. Yeah. 4.6 million. We have an average of 5 felonies a day. Out of 4.6 million. That's an amazing job by this police department.
Yeah. The mayor mentioned housing. When we come forward in our conversation with him, I want to ask him about Housing Week in New York City. I want to ask him, as we discussed earlier on today's program in a different conversation, of course, we were talking about the fact that the New York Times has opted out of endorsing in this race. I'm curious as to how the mayor sees that. All of a sudden, the New York Times didn't want to endorse now. We'll talk about that. And one of those candidates who he mentioned, not by name, has had some success talking about affordability. And I want to ask the mayor what his thoughts are on affordability and how he's responding to those attacks. You're listening to the mayor of New York City, Eric Adams, right now on Tavis Smiley.
Interrogating and unpacking.
That's what we do around here.
You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Do Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms keep coming back? Tremfya, guselkumab, may help, with rapid remission achieved at 12 weeks and lasting clinical remission at 1 year. Some even saw visible improvement of their intestinal lining at 12 weeks and 1 year. Tremfya is a prescription medicine used to treat adults with moderately to severely active Crohn's disease and adults with moderately to severely active ulcerative colitis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Healing is possible with Tremfya. Approximately 3 out of 10 patients were in endoscopic remission at 1 year, based on areas visualized on colonoscopy, which may not represent the deeper bowel layer or entire GI tract. Individual results may vary. Ask your doctor about Tremfya today. Call 1-800-526-7736 to learn more or visit tremfyaradio.com.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well-trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month. If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your Senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
You gotta dip your chicken strips. Hey, this is Kiani.
And this is Tabitha.
And a little thing we love about Chick-fil-A chicken strips
is all the different sauces we can dip them in. I like to line up all my favorite sauces so that in every bite, I have a different flavor. Then with the tenderness of the chicken, the juiciness of it, it's all there.
And for me, I like to mix my sauces so I get a little tang and I get a little sweetness all in one bite.
That's what makes it for me. Like, that's what does it for me.
That's what I'm saying.
It's the summer of Chick-fil-A chicken strips and sauces. Order now on the Chick-fil-A app. Real guests paid for their testimonials.
This is Secret Clinical dominating extra stinky stress sweat. And this is regular deodorant. Secret Clinical in a heat wave. Oh, what a beautiful day. This is regular deodorant. Ugh, I can't. Secret Clinical with workout sweat. Let's run another marathon. And regular deodorant. How much more? Secret is the GOAT. Because nothing fights sweat better.
Stay fresher under pressure.
Made fresh daily in the Mert Park,
Los Angeles, California.
You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and the mayor of the Big Apple, Mayor Eric Adams, who I'm honored to have on this program. I thank him for squeezing out a half hour to talk to me with all that he has going on running the city and, of course, running for re-election. Mayor, a couple things right quick here. We talked earlier in this program today about the New York Times opting out of endorsing in this race. How do you read that?
I don't. I don't quite understand. I know that they indicated during the primary that the primary winner, Mandani, was not qualified, and they mentioned how taint Andrew's record was. So I'm not quite sure. I know they made an announcement, I believe almost a year and a half ago, that they would not be endorsing in local races, and so they're running their paper. I have to run the city, and I can't figure out what that is about. I think that if you look at what my bond raters have stated, cities are judged by how well bond raters indicate the success of the city. They've increased my bond, and they shown how we have stabilized this city and continue to have success. More jobs are in this city, in the city's history, and all our other wins, I believe, are extremely important.
Since you mentioned him by name, Zara Mandami achieved success besting Andrew Cuomo in that Democratic primary, I think, for one word, affordability. That was the issue that he ran. He's still riding that issue of affordability. It has worked quite well for him. Talk to me about why he's been so successful running against you now, talking about affordability in New York City.
Well, because clearly the great philosopher once stated in New York, the rent is too damn high.
Yeah.
and we know that. We know that. And so we don't disagree with the affordability issue. The question needs to be raised is who has a plan to correct it. That's what is important. We cannot allow any form of stating what the problem is. Anyone could define the problem, but can you correct the problem? So if housing is an affordable issue in our city, which is then it's imperative that we build more. As I stated, we broke records in year 1, year 2, and year 3 in building housing. And we know what we have accomplished in building housing. We have passed the most comprehensive housing reform in the history of the city. And in the pipeline, we had a 500,000 moonshot goal of building housing. We have created, preserved, and planned to build 426,000 units of that housing, outpacing any other mayor of the 12 years of Mayor Bloomberg and the 8 years of Mayor de Blasio combined. And so we know we need to build more. We have an inventory issue here, brother. We got a 1.4% vacancy rate. 1.4% of apartments are available. If we don't build no more, we don't get it done. And so we have moved more people out of homelessness into permanent housing in the history of the city in those 3 years. More people into supportive housing. More people in the subsidized housing program called FEPS vouchers. And so we are doing and solving the problem and not just talking about the problem. And the beauty of it is when you talk about affordability, it's about putting money back in the pockets of New Yorkers. As I indicated, $30 billion. No income tax in this city for low-income New Yorkers. No income tax, and we accomplished that. Paying off college tuition for foster care children. Making sure that $100 that people pay for their high-speed broadband, our NYCHA residents are not paying that at all because we gave it to them for free. So we identified ways, dropping the cost of child care from $220 a month to less than $20 a month, a free after-school program, free pre-K and 3K programs. So we said, let's find ways as the mayor, we could put money back into the pockets of New Yorkers and keep the city affordable.
When we come forward in our remaining moments with the mayor, I want to ask him a specific question about Housing Week in New York City. And then I want to ask him finally about the black vote in particular. He mentioned there are 5 persons running in this race. He's the only African-American in this race, and yet the black vote is split in a variety of ways. The numbers are pretty clear about what Cuomo pulled in the primary, what Mandami pulled in the primary, and what Adams expects to pull in the main race, the general election, come November. But the black vote is split. I want to just get his take on that before I lose him at the top of the hour. You're listening to the mayor of Gotham, Eric Adams, on Tavis Smiley.
For all the freedom-loving folk, this is Tavis Smiley.
I feel like freedom.
KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Los Angeles Regional Food Bank is on a mission to fight hunger and provide nutritious food to those in need across our community. They partner with federal, state, and local programs advocating for better policies and funding for critical hunger relief programs like Cal Fresh, the Emergency Food Assistance Program, and the Child and Adult Care Food Program. The food bank works with coalitions and local representatives to make sure hunger is addressed in every district of LA County. They also run nutrition education campaigns, raise hunger awareness, and source nutritious food for distribution, all while supporting regulations that allow food pantries to operate safely. Want to help? Visit lafoodbank.org or call 323-234-3030 to volunteer or find a food bank near you. Together, we can ensure that no one goes hungry in Los Angeles County. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Chronic migraine, 15 or more headache days a month, each lasting 4 hours or more, can make me feel like a spectator in my own life.
Botox, onabotulinum toxin A, prevents headaches in adults with chronic migraine. It's not for those with 14 or fewer headache days a month. It's the #1 prescribed branded chronic migraine preventive treatment.
Prescription Botox is injected by your doctor. Effects of Botox may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away, as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness can be signs of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Side effects may include allergic reactions, neck and injection site pain, fatigue, and headache. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Don't receive Botox if there's a skin infection. Tell your doctor your medical history, muscle or nerve conditions, including ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects.
Why wait? Ask your doctor, visit BotoxChronicMigraine.com, or call 1-800-44-BOTOX to learn more.
Let's get back to more of this rich dialogue with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley, the mayor of New York City, Eric Adams. I've got 4 minutes left with him. I know he has a full schedule. I thank him for this half hour. A couple questions, Mayor, I want to ask right quick. I know that we all know, of course, Housing Week happens every year in New York. This year runs from July 28th through August the 4th. Today is August 4th, so today is the last week of Housing Week. You kicked this off with a big announcement about that abandoned airport in Queens. Say a word about that right quick.
No, so important. That airport remained, and it was vacant ever since 1984. I was a rookie cop many years ago, and we said no to that. We cannot have any spaces left vacant or unbuilt on, and that's why we're the most pro-housing administration in the history of the city. So we will be developing that site and make sure that this 3,000 units of homes and 60 acres of public open space on this site at the former Flushing airport, and it's a big win on our part.
Yep. So let me pivot now. I got 3 minutes left here. I want to pivot to the African American vote, the black vote in particular, because I'm fascinated by the way this thing is shaking out. So you opted out of the Democratic primary, running as independent, of course, in the general election as the incumbent mayor come November, so that Mondami and Andrew Cuomo fought this out in the primary. We saw the black vote split in that race, but everybody remains in. Cuomo is still in. Mondami's still in. There are 2 others still in. And so this black vote is going to get split unless you find a way to coalesce it between now and November. So talk to me, as you will, sir, about the black vote in this all-important mayor's race.
No, so true. And it comes down to what I hear all the time when we give our record. People say, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Many in our communities are not aware of the record that we have in the city. My job now, because I was not in the primary, my job is to do what I did in 2021. Let the African American and the Hispanic community and other immigrant communities know how I have impacted their lives. And that's the beauty of campaigning. You could use your campaign dollars and not have to just depend on our media to give your story. I'm now able to go out and tell my own story, and we will coalesce the black vote, the brown vote, and many of our immigrant communities as well, because I'm one of them.
Here's my exit question, Mayor. Give me your 30-second pitch, your 60-second pitch to African-American voters specifically, aside from the fact that you happen to be one of us. What's your pitch to black voters to reelect you?
Well, and that's part of the pitch. It was 30 years since David Dinkins was the mayor. 30 years later, I came along. But look at who I am. A person, I didn't study poverty. I grew up in poverty. I know what proper policing is. I know what it is to be promised something that you can't live up to. And when you look at the lives of black and brown people, decreasing unemployment, making sure that those who are in homelessness get housing, building more housing in the recorded history of the city in individual years, brought down crime, which typically impacts black and brown communities. The bottom line is I am probably the first blue-collar mayor that came from the communities that are going through a lot, and I know what it's like because I went through a lot in the process.
I've known Eric Adams for many, many years, long before he was mayor, and I've never called him one time, and he did not return my phone call and come on my program, wherever that program was, and I am honored to have had him on this program once again today. Mayor Adams, thank you for your time, sir. All the best to you.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you for your time. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Whooping cough cases are rising as kids head back to school. Dr. Dave Weber of the University of North Carolina Medical Center says parents should vaccinate a few weeks before school starts.
My hospital, we had no cases in